right, Steve, thank you. Well, we are still more than 5 months away from the November midterms, but there have been several recent developments that could change what happens on Capitol Hill before a single vote is cast. Joining us now is Larry Sabato, founder of Sabato's Crystal Ball with the University of Virginia Virginia Center for Politics. Thank you, Larry, so much for joining me today. Let's start with President Trump continuing to show that he has a strong grip on the Republican Party, even though his overall poll numbers, they keep dropping. I mean, last night, longtime Congressman and Trump critic Thomas Massie of Kentucky lost his primary. This follows primaries in Indiana and Louisiana, where the Trump-backed candidate beat the incumbent. What does that tell you about the president's influence?
Well, the president continues to have 85 to 90% support among Republicans. And of course, they're the people who vote in Republican primaries. Some of these states, like Louisiana, have made it more difficult for independents, for example, to vote in their primaries. So the electorate is a pretty pure sample of committed Republicans who'll turn out for a primary many months ahead of the general election. As you note correctly, if you look at the last 5 or 6 quality national surveys, you'll find that they all incredibly have Trump at the same point, 37% favorable job approval and about 60% disapproval of his job performance. So you've got a dramatic contrast there between the primary electorate and the general electorate, and the general electorate will determine the composition of the House and the Senate and many other offices in November.
And we're seeing some pretty interesting developments as well in the Senate as well. You know, Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, who voted to impeach Trump after the attack on the Capitol, lost his primary on Saturday and then immediately changed his vote to support the War Powers Act. And he came out against the ballroom funding. Could we see some of these lame duck Republican senators join Democrats to make the president's life just a lot more complicated and difficult over the next few months?
In a word, yes. I would say, though, they will make Trump's life a bit more difficult because Republicans still have 53 seats in the Senate. They can afford to lose 2 or 3, and they have one Democrat that normally they can rely on the matters they really care about, John Fetterman from Pennsylvania. So we'll see how serious it is. But you point to something that clearly is happening and will happen. It started with Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina, who was almost pushed out of the race. He chose to retire, but he's expressed himself fully on a number of votes that I'm sure displeased the White House. And now you have Senator Bill Cassidy, who demonstrated immediately that he wanted to do the same thing. And next week, we have the battle between Senator John Cornyn and the Attorney General Ken Paxton in Texas. And probably, not definitely, Cornyn will lose and Paxton will win. And then Cornyn will still be in the Senate for another 7 months. And he may be inclined to express himself more fully. So, you know, it does add up. Tom Massie has already been front and center in the anti-Trump group in the House of Representatives. I'm sure he will continue that. He said as much last night that essentially he'd only begun to fight. And I think he'll have a number of tricks up his sleeve.
All right, a race we will be watching closely. Switching gears now to Virginia, Governor Abigail Spanberger has vetoed legislation that would have created a legalized marijuana marketplace. Do you expect the General Assembly to bring this up again next session? And could this be something you see her approving down the road?
Well, she's clearly not going to approve this particular form of the bill. She is in favor of legalization of marijuana and making it available under certain rules that protect young people and so on. This is very interesting. It ought to be interesting to everybody because what it really is a Democratic legislature passing quite a number of bills without including the governor's changes. And then the governor and essentially saying to them, okay, you can do that if you wish, and I'm going to veto it. So they're having this normal dance of influence at the beginning of a governor's term. And I suspect they will get together and compromise a bit more. for the next session. In fact, they have to, or they won't be able to get anything done.
Larry Sabato with the University of Virginia Center of Politics. Thank you so much for your time today.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.